The Eagles made a splash of moves. It started off with some smaller news with Landon Dickerson re-signing, extending his deal, leaving him with Philadelphia Eagles for another 4 years. The free agent signings were big splashes. Bryce Huff, who isn't a well-known commodity, at least for the casual NFL fan, but the fact that this guy can come off the bench and give you about 10 sacks a year is pretty good. He did that last season, and now can he replicate that in a new scheme in Philadelphia? Vic Fangio, the new DC coming in for Sean Desai last year, and Matt Patricia will be different. And now he's addressed something on the front end with Bryce Huff, and it remains to be seen whether or not they'll keep Josh Sweat and or Hassan Reddick. I believe one of the two will be shopped and traded later in this offseason for some picks, as they both were not as what they were in 2022. If they do so, I would like to keep Hassan Reddick. I think he's a more productive player, but to get Bryce Huff at about $17 million a year is pretty much a bargain in this day and age for edge rushers. Now, remains to be seen, can he do this again? But with the amount of talent they have at the D-line, you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Hassan Reddick, Graham is coming back for another year. That is some pretty good defensive line pressure coming at any opposing quarterback. So with that being said, I like the Bryce Huff move, but the biggest splash of all is the Eagles signing Saquon Barkley away from the rival New York Giants. It's a 3-year deal worth about $38 million with $26 million guaranteed, as Saquon was fighting for a deal like this for the last offseason. Last year, they franchised him as in the New York Giants and then later signed a 1-year deal. He was banged up last year, but still fairly productive, not quite at the 2022 level, but still fairly productive, played most of the season. Health will be a big thing for Saquon. We know that he's missed 2 full seasons basically, and injuries have been plaguing him in the last few years of his Giants career, and that's probably why the Giants didn't elect to extend him. But it wasn't really personal, it's business at the end of the day. Now, going to a division rival certainly puts salt in the wound for the New York Giants and their fan base. But for Saquon, this brings him the financial stability, especially in a running back position that's so devalued these last few offseason. What does this mean for the Eagles offense? They brought in Kellen Moore in this offseason, and it's definitely going to be an upgrade compared to what they had last year. And I really like that with this move, Saquon Barkley, this is kind of like what the Eagles are trying to mimic with the San Francisco 49ers 2 years ago. They traded for Christian McCaffrey. He is their bell cow running back, and that takes up so much pressure off of everybody else. Defenses have to pay attention now to Saquon, and there's still really good receivers on the outside. They have 2 stud receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a solid tight end in Dallas Goedert, and still, despite the recent retirement of Jason Kelce, one of the best offensive lines in this league. I expect them to continue to bolster up that depth as Kelce retires, and we'll see probably Lane Johnson be on the last stage of his career, but still fairly productive offensive tackle. And this will be the best offensive line that Saquon has worked with in his NFL career. Before, with the New York Giants, they were at the bottom 3 throughout his Giants career in generating open rushing lanes. He was the most hit running back behind the line of scrimmage that we've seen since entering the league in 2018. And what this means for Saquon is that with this really good offensive line, he won't be touched possibly for 1 to 2 yards. And with those massive quads that he has, he can drive defenders back for another additional 1 to 2 yards. And that's how you get that 4 yards per carry average, ride the rock. Jalen Hurts is a far more talented quarterback than what he's had to work with out in New York. So that takes some pressure off of him. Defenses have to pay attention to him and his running ability. This offense is loaded, and I'm very excited to see what they can do. So many weapons, so many people that you have to pay attention to that it's going to be very hard to stop. And they still have some moves to do on the back end. I still understand that, but I already love what I'm seeing out of Howie Roseman's team and the Philadelphia Eagles in this offseason. I'm sure they'll be primed to threaten the San Francisco 49ers in the upcoming 2024 season.